Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. You can get me on Twitter at LandoFF and our main account on all social media platforms, Snap_Fantasy. Week 1 is in the books and you're here to find out who you can add on your waiver wires. Like we say, you cannot win your league at the draft, but these are the weeks that are most important. Who to add, what kind of buzz, who to overreact on, and what to do with those waiver wire ads. I'm going to go through every position, who I would add. I'm going to go through my own teams and see who's available in my leagues. If there are players available that I didn't notice, hit me up on Twitter or on Instagram, and we can make sure I'll give you the best advice I can. So, number 1, I'm going to start off with the wide receiver position because we just got news that Michael Thomas has a high ankle sprain, and you're going to want to add one of those two wide receivers, whether it's Emmanuel Sanders or Tre'Quan Smith. Not sure how many leagues you're in that both are available or both are owned, but Tre'Quan Smith is a guy I really like. He's got a good relationship with Drew Brees, and he's probably available on your waiver wire. So he's going to be highly available. You could put a few dollars on him, or depending how your waivers. If you got to know your league here on whether you want to put $3 or put $12 on your guy. If it's super active, maybe put in $12 or $13 to make sure you get him. But a guy like Emmanuel Sanders, we like too. He got that end zone and touchdown last week, but he only had a few targets. So he's not super consistent, but now he will have time to build that relationship with Drew Brees and potentially get more targets, especially if Michael Thomas is banged up. So I would put between $3 to $9 on a guy like Emmanuel Sanders. I like the higher upside with Tre'Quan, and because he has that already built-in chemistry with Drew Brees, that should be good. This is also a bump up for Jared Cook, but we're not sure how severe this injury is for Michael Thomas. He just might not have that ceiling that he used to have and those guaranteed targets like he used to have. So bad news for him, but good news for guys on your waiver wire. Other guys that are very popular this week: Russell Gage, Scotty Miller, and Marcus Valdes-Scantling from the Green Bay Packers. All those guys had a good performance. They're adding a ton of leagues. I'm looking on Sleeper right now. A guy like Scotty Miller was added in over 100,000 leagues or 100,000 times, and Russell Gage was added 65,000 times. Russell Gage is the guy I liked. We know there was going to be a ton of volume in Atlanta. He's a guy that could easily be a wide receiver 3 flex option week to week. Now, not every week they're going to have a really good matchup like it was kind of with the Seahawks. But on the other side, the Atlanta Falcons do not have a good defense. So they're going to be in shootouts more often than not, which will lead Russell Gage to have more targets. Hayden Hurst will eventually get more targets and a better relationship with Matt Ryan. But in the meantime, Russell Gage is a decent add if you need that wide receiver. I'd put $1 or $2 on him as well. Marcus Valdes-Scantling, he's a guy that you don't really want to watch play football, but he produced on the field. He had 96 yards and a touchdown. Pretty phenomenal. But he's still not a guy I'm going to rely on. He only had 6 targets, 4 receptions, and that's just unsustainable. I'm not chasing those points for Valdes-Scantling. He's down on my list. If you can afford to just stash him and not have to play him, I understand where Valdes-Scantling is an ad, but he's not something I'm too excited about. Sammy Watkins. I almost forgot about Sammy Watkins. I'm not personally adding. Well, I don't want to play Sammy Watkins. What happened last year happened again this year. He had a big week 1. We know he's not super consistent. We should see guys like McCole Hardman get some better looks and some more targets, where Sammy Watkins seems to be very inconsistent. Again, he's worth an ad because of the offense he's in, but he's not a guy I want to be able to start every single week or have to rely on. So again, I'd put a waiver claim in on him if you're desperate, but I'm not going to blow the bank on a guy like Sammy chasing those points. Throughout the season, he does more harm than good on your fantasy team when you think you can start him and you really can't. So John Brown is worth an ad. He had a better relationship than Stephon Diggs did. John Brown is just a very safe player. If he's probably not available on your waiver wire, but last year he had a very solid season, and this year it could be very, very similar. So if you're in a shallow league and John Brown's available, he's worth an ad. He could actually start. One guy I talked about, Paris Campbell. This is a guy that's sneaky that I really like. Every time I turn on that that Indianapolis game, it seemed like he was producing. He had 9 targets, which is great. T.Y. Hilton was just inconsistent, where Paris Campbell, he got the hype out of camp, and I think this is a really good add for a wide receiver position. Next, I'm going to go to the tight end. The tight end position, for me, it just seems like it's going to be Logan Thomas. So if you dropped a guy, or I guess Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert, number 1. He might be the highest scoring tight end on the season or on the week this past week. Add Dallas Goedert. We said in our live that you can start both tight ends from Philadelphia. They run the both 2 tight ends sets of any team there is. So add Dallas Goedert. He's not going to have those 20-point games every week, obviously, but he's worth an add. This is if you lost, obviously, Blake Jarwin to that ACL tear. Next, I would do Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas is a guy that seems to have a good relationship with Dwayne Haskins. What we know about tight ends is they're not a consistent bunch. He had a good week. He had a touchdown, but he's not someone I would super rely on. He only had 4 receptions for 37 yards, but this could get better. He could be a Darren Waller of this year on a bad team, but there's not very few other options. I mean, we know Terry McLaurin's going to be the real deal. It's just Logan Thomas is that big-bodied tight end that could be the red zone and goal line option for that team. Other tight ends I would add, there aren't too many. If you have another one that you're in question with, drop the comments down below and I'll see if he's available. And I didn't think he was, then we can figure that out there. For running backs, and this is probably why you're here. Running backs are a big deal. Nyheim Hines might be a real deal in Indianapolis. Marlon Mack went down. I would blow a small Kittle on Nyheim Hines. I would put $20 to $29 on Nyheim Hines based on your league. FAAB is a weird thing, so I would put maybe 29% on that. If you have him already on your team, he's a guy that I don't think you can get enough for early on in the season, but he could be a very viable wide or running back 2 or 3 throughout the season. We know how much Phillip Rivers checks down. Marlon Mack is gone. Jonathan Taylor, it's Jonathan Taylor season, everyone. If he's available, blow your whole FAAB on Jonathan Taylor. But Nyheim Hines is likely going to be a guy that is available, and he's going forward. He's going to be very viable as an option, especially in any PPR leagues. He was used a lot. So blow your FAAB on Nyheim Hines. I don't blame you. You can't overreact to week 1 too much, but with that so if Marlon Mack was still healthy, I wouldn't be recommending that, but because Marlon Mack is hurt, this is why I would probably spend some real FAAB on Nyheim Hines. Malcolm Brown, we saw him. He looked really good, got some goal line work. If he is available on your league, I wouldn't probably spend as much on Malcolm Brown, even though he had a really good game, because it's going to be Cam Akers will be involved. Darrell Henderson is going to be still involved a lot. No one got hurt in LA. And you will see Jared Goff throw some touchdowns. So don't overreact to week 1 too much. Cooper Kupp's going to get his. Tyler Higbee's going to get his. And same with Robert Woods. So Malcolm Brown, if he's available, you could put between $15 to $23 on Malcolm Brown, and you should be happy with a guy that I don't feel super comfortable starting. But if he keeps showing out like that, I mean, why not? So other running backs to kind of take note of. Adrian Peterson had a big game. I don't love spending FAAB on Adrian Peterson. You could put under $10 of FAAB on Adrian Peterson. You know what? If you don't know what FAAB is, it's a free agent acquisition budget. Some leagues have it, some leagues don't. Sometimes it's just in priority. So you're gonna hear me refer to FAAB quite a bit. So Adrian Peterson is a guy I'm not super thrilled with. He would be down in my priority rankings. I know he had a big game, but I do expect DeAndre Swift to be more involved. Kerryon Johnson, we'll see how. I don't love Kerryon. He's probably going to get dropped in a lot of leagues. So if he gets dropped, maybe check him out. I don't know if you have a free roster spot, but Adrian Peterson, he's going to be viable. He's a flex or running back if you think it's needy, but I'm not going to overreact to Adrian Peterson. Super old. They've got Green Bay, Arizona, New Orleans, so not bad matchups coming up, but I'm not too over the moon with Adrian Peterson. We know he's an old running back. Joshua Kelley, though, is a very good running back, and he got some really high valuable touches. He is an ad that I would really like to have. I have him on a couple of my teams already. But Joshua Kelley is a guy that I would put in probably the second priority behind, or third priority, I guess, behind Nyheim Hines and Malcolm Brown. He's really good, and if he gets that work with the LA Chargers, that should be good. Austin Eckler will bounce back. I'm not too concerned with Austin Eckler. Don't panic sell if you're nervous about Eckler. Because you can't get much for him now anyway, so don't worry about it. And James Robinson, you probably don't have that chance to get him already. He's probably owned, but he looked really good in that against the Indianapolis Colts that have a good defense. He didn't perform super well, but I'm not concerned with that. I still think if he's dropped to potentially add James Robinson, guys on the downward, Chris Thompson, Matt Breida, Kerryon Johnson, J.D. McKissick, Tevin Coleman, McCole Hardman. These guys are dropped. Duke Johnson. I would put a tentative ad on McCole Hardman if he's dropped in your league. That's a pro tip. Make sure you check who is dropped in your league and see if he's available to be picked up. Sometimes people get over anxious with adding waiver wire guys, and they drop very good quality running backs, especially ones that underperformed. Check out any kind of rookies we have, all kinds of stuff. I just got a notification that Gase is not sure Bell will be back, but said it could be a couple weeks. So check out, see if Michael P. Ryan might be starting. This is something we need to monitor. I'll look it up right now. So we look at Jets depth chart. I don't even know who else is there on the Jets team, honestly. Frank Gore. Right. How did I forget about Frank Gore? He might be a sneaky ad. I'm not thrilled with it. I do like the option of LaMichael Pirine, but maybe add Frank Gore. He's probably behind Adrian Peterson for me in that waiver priority, just because, I mean, it's still Frank Gore. It's still the Jets. They're not going to score a ton of touchdowns, and this is that. So I guess I'll talk about quarterbacks a little bit, since quarterbacks are a very popular option. A lot of quarterbacks are probably owned in your league. If Jared Goff is dropped for a guy like Trubisky, pick up Goff. Trubisky had a very fine game, but I'm not thrilled about it. I don't think a lot of quarterbacks really hurt your team too much, besides maybe a Tom Brady or Goff potentially. But drop in the comments what quarterbacks are available on your waiver wire, and I can let you know who to add and where I would prioritize. I'm still not too concerned about a guy like Matt Stafford. He's going to get his, especially if Kenny Golladay is back. They sure missed him in the red zone to finish that game. So, all right, guys, waiver wire week 1 in the books. Hopefully your teams did really well. Hopefully you don't have to rely on some of these waiver wire guys, but if you do, those are my best suggestions. Hopefully you enjoy week 2, and make sure you tweet at me if you have any more questions. All right, thanks, and we'll see you next time.